No, you are not listening to me. That is exactly why I'm telling you that you have been watching this movie wrong for almost 20 years. We all have.
Whoa.
We treat The Dark Knight like it's the gold standard of superhero movies, this thrilling action flick where the good guy wins a moral victory and rides up into the darkness.
Which it is. I mean, it's an incredible film.
But if you actually look at the psychological profiles, the game theory, the sociology papers we have in this stack, it's not a superhero movie.
Okay.
It is a horror story about how fragile our civilization actually is.
Oh, okay. Slow down. You're coming in hot today. A horror story.
Yes.
It's Batman. It's Christopher Nolan. It's the movie that literally defined the genre for a generation. You're telling me that when I cheered for Batman riding off on the Batpod at the end, I was actually watching a tragedy.
I'm saying that if you strip away the capes and the cool gadgets and you look at what this Gotham's Children theory is actually arguing, then yes, you are watching the slow-motion collapse of a society. Right. Look, the central proposition we need to tackle today, and I want you to really stay with me on this because it's uncomfortable, is that Batman is not the cure for Gotham.
I'm with you so far.
He is a symptom. He is part of the same disease that created the Joker.
Okay, that feels incredibly harsh. I mean, I get that Batman is dark, he's brooding, he's got issues, we all know that. But a symptom? The guy is out there saving lives? He's stopping the mob.
Is he stopping them, or is he just changing the rules of the game?
He's putting them in jail. Are you seriously suggesting that trying to save people is part of the problem? Because that sounds like a very, very cynical take on heroism.
It's not about cynicism, it's about symbiosis. And that's what we need to get into. The mission for this deep dive is to look at the source material, these psychological profiles, these game theory analyses, and answer one question. Was the Joker right?
I feel like the answer should be an immediate no. He's a mass-murdering psychopath.
But was he right about us? That's the real question. So let's start with the setup. We have this stack of research here, specifically a piece by Daniel Bates called Gotham's Children, the inseparable duality of Batman and Joker.
Right.
And another heavy hitter from the University of Essex titled Borders of the Bat. And they paint a picture of Gotham that isn't just a backdrop, it's the villain.
The city is the villain.
Yeah.
I've heard this theory before.
But it's more than that. The argument here is that Gotham creates a vacuum of trauma. It grinds people down. It's this engine of despair. And Batman, he isn't a healthy reaction to that. Bates calls it a violent costume dissociation.
A violent costume dissociation. That sounds less like a superhero origin and more like a clinical diagnosis in the DSM-5.
It basically is. The theory argues that Bruce Wayne isn't Batman because he wants to do civic duty. He created a shadow self to deal with unbearable grief. He's projecting his internal trauma outward onto criminals. He's trying to punch his parents' killer over and over again every night.
So he's acting out on a citywide scale.
Exactly. But here's the kicker, and this is where the Gotham's Children theory gets really dark. When you impose that kind of rigid, authoritarian order on a chaotic city, the city pushes back. The Joker isn't an invader. He's not some alien element.
He's from Gotham.
He is Gotham's scream of truth. He is the inevitable equal and opposite reaction to Batman.
So you're saying Batman effectively created the Joker. By putting on the mask, he invited this escalation. Because that's a classic trope. But I feel like the Joker would have been a psychopath regardless of whether Bruce Wayne decided to dress up as a bat.
Would he have been this Joker, though? The sources suggest Batman creates the escalation. He raises the stakes. The mob, they had rules. They were businessmen. You punch them, they punch back.
They were killing people. Let's not romanticize the mob.
No, of course not. But their goals were, understandable. Money, power. The Joker has no goal like that. He just wants to watch the world burn. He's a philosophical terrorist. Batman, this agent of absolute order, called an agent of absolute chaos into being.
Okay, but look at the codependence. You mentioned symbiosis.
Exactly. We have to talk about the you complete me dynamic. That line isn't just a throwaway. The sources actually point out that in the broader canon, like Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, when Batman retires, what happens to the Joker?
He goes catatonic.
He shuts down, he stops functioning. He's in Arkham, just staring at a wall until he sees a bat on the news. They are locked in this toxic lover's dance. Without Batman, the Joker has no punchline.
Okay, but I struggle with that because it turns real human lives into just variables in their game. Right. When the Joker kills people, those are real victims. If Batman wasn't there, are we assuming the Joker would just sit quietly in a room? That feels like we're letting the terrorist off the hook and blaming the first responder.
I think the argument is that the Joker is specifically targeting the hypocrisy that Batman represents. He's not just killing randomly. Every crime is a piece of performance art designed to prove a point to Batman and to Gotham.
A very bloody piece of performance art.
And that leads to this concept in the notes here called super sanity. It's this idea, referenced by Grant Morrison and others, that the Joker might actually be, well, super sane.
Super sane, as in he's more sane than the rest of us. That's a stretch. He's the definition of insanity.
Hear me out. The theory is that he lacks a core personality. He reinvents himself every day to cope with a world that makes no sense. The world is a chaotic, meaningless joke, so he becomes the ultimate comedian.
Which is why his backstory for the scars is always different.
Exactly. Do you want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker and a fiend. Or, no, I did it to myself for my wife. The story is different every time because he is different every time. He adapts to the chaos by becoming the chaos.
He's mirror.
He is the perfect mirror. He's reflecting the absurdity of the world back at Batman, trying to show him how ridiculous his precious rules are. He's trying to prove it deep down. Everyone is as ugly as he is.
See, that sounds fascinating on paper, but super sanity feels like a cop-out for just being evil. But I get what you're saying about the mirror. If Batman is absolute order, the Joker is absolute chaos, but I still think you're framing the hero as the villain here. Batman is trying to hold the line.
But is he holding the line, or is he pruning the tree?
This brings us to the second massive pillar of this deep dive, and this is where we have to look at the physics of it. It's about chaos theory.
Okay.
We have this paper from Psychology Today titled Chaos Theory and Batman, and it makes a distinction that, I'm not kidding, it blew my mind. It distinguishes between deterministic chaos, which is like the weather, complex but natural.
Butterfly effect.
And what they call a blue sky catastrophe.
A blue sky catastrophe. I've heard of deterministic chaos that's like a small change can have huge, unpredictable results, but it follows laws. It stays within a system. But blue sky catastrophe sounds weirdly optimistic for something that implies disaster. It's terrifying. It's a term from bifurcation theory. Imagine a system that is stable, like a ball sitting at the bottom of a valley. You can shake it, and it rolls back to the bottom. That's the attractor, the point of stability.
Okay, the system's default setting.
Exactly. In Gotham, the attractor is the war between law and crime. It's a known quantity. The paper argues that Batman fighting the mob is just pruning the branches. He shakes the system, but the ball always rolls back. The mob hires better lawyers, they buy bigger guns, the tree gets stronger, the system adapts.
Okay, so the mob is the stability. That's depressing.
In a way, yes. It's a stable equilibrium, it's a fight, but it's a fight with rules. But a blue sky catastrophe is different. It's when a force hits the system and the attractor, that valley, suddenly vanishes.
The bottom falls out.
The stability point disappears entirely, and the system flies off into a completely new, chaotic state it can never return from. The paper argues that the Joker isn't trying to win the game, he's trying to delete the board. He isn't pruning branches, he is hacking at the trunk.
And let me guess. Harvey Dent is the trunk.
Harvey Dent is the attractor. He represents the system working without Batman. He is the White Knight. He is the proof that the legal system can function. If Harvey Dent works, you don't need a Batman. You don't need a masked vigilante.
He makes Batman obsolete.
Which is why the Joker's plan wasn't just to blow things up for fun. It was a calculated strike to prove that the White Knight is just as corruptible as the Dark Knight. And this is where the butterfly effect comes in, not as a cliche, but as a structural failure mechanism.
Right. The chain reaction, the sources highlight this. It starts with Commissioner Gordon, right?
Yeah.
A small choice.
Exactly. Gordon makes one small pragmatic compromise. He uses corrupt cops, Ramirez and Berg, because he thinks he can manage them. He tells Batman, I don't have the luxury of cleaning house. He's trying to be a realist. He's doing what he thinks is necessary.
And that realism is the butterfly flapping its wings. Because he uses those corrupt cops, the Joker gets access to Rachel and Harvey's locations. Because Rachel dies, Harvey breaks. Because Harvey breaks, the city's symbol of hope becomes a murderer. The entire structural integrity of Gotham collapses because of that one compromise.
It's not about villains punching heroes. It's about a systemic failure initiated by a blue sky event. The Joker found the structural weakness, Gordon's tolerance for corruption, and he hammered it until the whole building came down.
Okay, but hold on. I want to stop you there because you're talking about systems breaking and structural failure and attractors. But what we're actually watching is a tragedy about a human being.
It is, of course it is.
Harvey Dent was a good man. He was doing everything right. And I think that's what makes the movie so hard to watch and why I push back on this idea that it's just a lesson. It's unfair. I mean, it reminds me of just times in your own life where you feel like you're doing everything you're supposed to, and one thing goes wrong, and suddenly everything unravels. It's that feeling of free fall.
The loss of control.
The loss of control. Exactly. And the Joker's whole thesis is one bad day.
Right.
That all it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy.
That is the thesis. And looking at Harvey Dent, you'd have to say, was he right? He took Gotham's White Knight and turned him into a monster in a single night.
Well, that's the debate, isn't it? We have these Reddit threads and articles asking, is the one bad day theory even true? And the consensus seems to be, no, it's not true. It's the Joker's self-justification.
But the evidence in the movie is pretty compelling.
Is it? Look at Commissioner Gordon in the movie, and even more so in the Killing Joke comic, which this is based on. Gordon has the ultimate bad day. His family is threatened. He thinks his son is dead. He's humiliated. He watches Batman get beaten half to death. Does he turn into a murderer?
No, he doesn't. He holds on to the code. He says, we have to do it by the book.
And look at Batman. Batman had the worst day imaginable as a child. He watched his parents die in an alley. He didn't become a mass murderer. He became a protector. So isn't the one bad day theory just the Joker's bullshit excuse for his own weakness?
That's what the sources call it.
They call it a narcissistic projection. He wants everyone to be as ugly as he is so he doesn't have to feel alone in his brokenness. He's weak, and he can't stand that other people are strong.
That is a very hopeful reading, and I want to believe it. I really do. But let's test that hope. Let's take this to the part of the movie where the rubber really meets the road for all of Gotham. We have to talk about the fairies.
The social experiment. Just thinking about it gives me chills.
This is Game Theory 101, but with high explosives. We have a source here from Cornell Blogs called The Joker's Game Theory and another from Pop Mythology. They break this down as a classic prisoner's dilemma, but twisted.
So set the scene.
Two boats. One has civilians, regular people. One has convicts, prisoners being transferred. Both have detonators to the other boat. The Joker tells them, blow up the other boat by midnight or I blow you both up.
It's sickening. It is the ultimate cruelty because he's forcing them to become murderers just to survive. He's not just killing them, he's trying to corrupt them first.
But look at the math. This is what's so chilling. The Nash equilibrium, the rational solution in game theory, is to blow up the other boat immediately.
Rational. How is that rational?
Because if you assume the other side is acting in their own self-interest, you have to strike first. It's the only way to guarantee survival. If you wait and they press the button, you die. If you press the button first, you live. Rationally, logically, you press the button.
But that's assuming the other side is, well, soulless. It assumes zero trust, zero empathy.
Is it? Or is it assuming they are human? The source from Pop Mythology references Thomas Hobbes, the idea that without rules, without a Leviathan to keep us in check, life is nasty, brutish, and short.
That we're all just animals underneath.
And I have to be the cynic here for a second. I really have to be honest. If I am on that boat, and I'm looking at my family, and I know the other boat is full of convicted felons, people who have already broken the social contract.
There's still people.
I know. But the clock is ticking down, and the lights are flickering, I think. I think the fear wins.
Don't say it.
I think in the real world, the Joker is right. I think we press the button. The Pop Mythology article talks about illusory superiority, this cognitive bias, where we all think we're the good guys. We think, oh, I'd never do that. But when survival is on the line, I don't know if I trust you, and I don't know if you trust me.
See, that makes me angry. Really, it does.
Why?
Because that's exactly what the Joker wants you to think. He's banking on that cynicism. He is banking on the idea that deep down we are all just animals. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. That's his quote. But look what actually happens in the movie.
Go on.
This is the part that always gets me. It's not the civilians who save the day. It's the convict.
That is true. It is a stunning reversal.
You have the scum of society on that other boat,
Yeah.
and you have the big, scary prisoner, Tiny Lister plays him, who demands the detonator. And the warden thinks he's going to use it. Everyone does.
Yeah.
But what does he do?
He throws it out the window.
He throws it out the window. He doesn't even hesitate. He says, you don't want to die, but you don't know how to take a life. Give it to me. And then he chooses decency. That moment, It destroys the Joker's entire argument.
Yeah.
It proves that even the people we've thrown away, the people we've labeled as bad, have a moral line they won't cross.
Or did they just freeze? The Cornell blog points out something interesting about the structure of decision-making.
Okay.
On the prisoner boat, the decision was decentralized. It was chaos until one guy took charge and made an executive decision to be noble. But on the civilian boat, the good people, they voted. They had a democratic process. And what was the result of the vote?
They voted to blow up the prisoners.
Exactly. The democratic, civilized process resulted in a decision to commit mass murder. The only reason they didn't do it was because no single individual had the stomach to physically press the button. But the intent of the group was to kill.
The hesitation matters, though.
Does it? The collective decided to kill. Only individual shame stopped it. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement of humanity. It shows that groups can be more monstrous than individuals.
I think you're refusing to see the light here. You're looking for the darkness. The fact that they hesitated, the fact that they agonized over it, that matters. If the Joker was right, those boats would have gone up in fireworks in the first 5 minutes. The silence, that midnight silence where both boats are still floating, that is the victory. It shows that empathy can override game theory.
Okay, let's just make this personal for a second. Based on what you just heard me admit, if it was just you and me on those boats, are you telling me you wouldn't be worried? Would you trust me not to blow you up?
I don't know. And that's what's so scary. I want to say yes, but you just told me you think fear wins.
I think. I'm afraid it might. That's the honesty of it. The source talks about illusory superiority. We all think we're good, but survival is ugly.
But the prisoner threw it away. The scum, as you call them, had more moral fortitude than the citizens. Doesn't that prove the Joker wrong?
It proves that individuals can be noble. But it also proves that civilized society, when it acts as a group, can be terrifyingly pragmatic. It's a paradox. But let's look at the cost of that victory. This leads us to the aftermath and the lie. The movie ends with Batman taking the fall for Harvey Dent's crimes.
Noble lie.
Right. They cover up the truth. They bury the fact that the White Knight went on a killing spree, that he became Two-Face.
For the good of the city.
And what does that say about Gotham? It says that the truth is too dangerous. It says that people are so fragile that if they knew their hero had broken, they would give up on everything. Batman and Gordon decide that the only way to save civilization is to base it on a falsehood.
So you're saying it's all built on sand?
It proves the system's broken. If you have to lie to keep society from collapsing, do you really have a society? Or do you just have a collective delusion propped up by a lie about a dead man?
I don't see it as the system is broken. I see it as protecting a wounded animal. Gotham was bleeding out. You don't tell a patient in critical condition that they're probably going to die. You tell them to keep fighting. You give them a reason to hope.
Even if the hope is fake.
Batman sacrificed his own reputation. He let himself be hunted, chased by dogs, so that people could believe in something good.
Yeah.
That's not a broken system. That is the ultimate act of selflessness.
Or it's the ultimate act of paternalism. It's two men deciding what the little people are allowed to know. And that connects us directly to the political allegory, which we cannot ignore. We can't talk about this movie without talking about 2008, the Bush administration, and the Patriot Act.
I mean, we were getting here. The sonar machine.
The sonar machine. This isn't subtle. We have sources like John Ipps, The Dark Knight's War on Terrorism, and several articles discussing the Bush-era politics. In the third act, Batman turns every single cell phone in Gotham into a microphone.
A spying device.
He creates a high-frequency sonar map of the entire city. He is literally spying on 30 million people without a warrant, without permission to catch one terrorist. The sources identify this as a direct allegory for the Patriot Act and the NSA's terrorist surveillance program.
And Lucius Fox calls him out on it. That's the important part. Lucius represents the Constitution in that room.
He does.
He says, this is too much power for one person. He calls it unethical, dangerous, and wrong. He threatens to resign. The movie doesn't just present it as cool tech. It presents it as a moral crossing of the line.
He uses it.
He does.
And it works. That's the uncomfortable truth the movie presents. The sources argue that the thing suggests that in a state of exception, a term used in political theory by Giorgio Agamben, civil liberties are a luxury. When you are fighting a Joker, when you are fighting an agent of chaos who follows no rules, the movie seems to say that you have to become a monster to catch a monster.
It's the ticking time bomb scenario. You have to torture the guy to find out where the bomb is.
And the movie says, yes, you do. And it works. It catches the Joker. It justifies the means with the ends.
I don't think it says you have to become a monster. I think it shows the temptation. But remember what happens to the machine.
It self-destructs.
Exactly. Batman gives Lucius the kill switch. Type in your name when you're done, and the machine is destroyed. The movie is very clear that this kind of power cannot exist permanently.
It presents a Roman dictator scenario.
Explain that.
Cincinnatus. He was a Roman farmer who was given absolute dictatorial power to save Rome from an invasion. After 16 days, he won the war, and then he immediately resigned and went back to his farm. He gave the power back. Batman takes absolute power, but he voluntarily gives it up.
So the film isn't endorsing it. It's just presenting a thought experiment, a best-case scenario for that kind of power.
But that's the fantasy. That is where I struggle with the heroism part. In the real world, does the power ever get given back? The Allegory of America source asks this question. Once you build the surveillance state, once you build the NSA database, does it ever really get turned off?
No.
Or does it just wait for the next Joker? The movie gives us a happy ending where the surveillance state destroys itself, but in reality, we are still living with the Patriot Act. We are still living with the surveillance. Batman might be incorruptible, but the people who come after him, are they?
That's a fair point. The movie resolves it neatly, and reality is messy. But I think that's why we need these stories, not to tell us that surveillance is good, but to show us the cost. To show us that even Batman, the guy with the unbreakable code, gets pushed to the breaking point. It warns us how slippery that slope is. It asks us, how far are you willing to go to feel safe?
I think it's a warning, absolutely, but I think it's a darker warning than you do. I think The Dark Knight is telling us that our morality is a luxury. It's like the Joker says, their morals, their code. It's a bad joke, dropped at the first sign of trouble.
But it wasn't dropped. The people on the ferry proved him wrong.
Did they? Or did one convict save everyone from a decision the civilized people had already made? The Joker didn't just want to kill people. He wanted to strip away the illusion. And by the end of the movie, let's look at the scoreboard. Harvey Dent is dead and disgraced, secretly. Batman is a fugitive. The city is based on a lie. The surveillance state was activated to save the day. Did the Joker really lose?
Yes.
He lost.
How? Explain that to me. Because it looks like he broke everything he touched.
Because the fairies didn't blow up.
Yeah?
That's it. That is the core of it. He threw everything he had at them. Fear, death, game theory traps, the worst of human nature, and they didn't break. You can talk about the surveillance and the lies and the broken hero, but the ordinary people of Gotham, when the chips were down, they didn't eat each other. The Joker won the battle for Harvey Dent's soul, maybe. But he lost the war for Gotham's soul.
That is the realist in you speaking. The skeptic who wants to believe people are good.
And you're the cynic who wants to believe we're all just one bad day away from being monsters. Maybe. Or maybe I just look at the world and I see more Two-Faces than I see Gordons.
Well, that's grim. But I guess that's why we watch the movie, to remind ourselves which one we want to be.
Precisely. And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave everyone with today. It goes back to that concept of illusory superiority we touched on earlier from the pop mythology source.
That we all think we're the hero.
We all watch this movie and imagine we are Batman. Or maybe we imagine we are Gordon flawed but good. Or maybe we're the convict who does the right thing. But I want you to really imagine yourself on that ferry. It's freezing cold, you're terrified, the lights are flickering, there is a detonator in your hand, you know the other boat has a detonator, and the clock is ticking down the final 10 seconds.
It's the ultimate test.
It is, and the uncomfortable question the Dark Knight asks, the question the Joker is asking you directly is, do you really know who you are? Or are you just behaving because the lights are on?
I'd like to think I'd throw the detonator out the window.
I'd like to think that too, but until the lights go out, we don't really know, do we?
Let's hope we never have to find out.
Indeed. This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening to us dismantle your childhood heroes.
We'll see you next time, hopefully with something a little lighter.
No promises.